Give us 1 second here. We're just loading everything up.
How's everyone doing today? You know, what is today? It is the 31st of December. So by the time this is posted, it'll be 2021. Wow.
Alrighty, so how you guys doing? Welcome back to the podcast. I'm your host. Obviously, it's Cooper. So we wanted to continue. The conversation we had last night. The conversation was about, is the Illuminati real? Now we left on a high note, and this is just a continuation of that conversation. So we're gonna act like we never stopped talking about it. But just to refresh everybody's memory, just so everyone's well aware, we stopped at when we talked about, when we started to talk about FEMA camps. We didn't actually talk about it, but we started to talk about it. We ended with how, members of the Illuminati, who they are, if they could exist. We talked about Bill Clinton a little bit. We talked about Hillary Clinton. We talked about, the Jeffrey Epstein thing and kind of the thought process around it. And we kind of led off with how we think that, the Clintons had something to do with Epstein's murder. Just to catch everybody back up. Keeper, go ahead and come to chat.
Oh, shit. Give me a second.
So, jumping back into that conversation yesterday. First of all, as far as you're good. As far as it goes, how do you feel? Do you feel like the Illuminati? We talked about yesterday how it's said to have had, 5 original members to 2,000. Do you feel like there's a lot of members?
For me, that's like a hard question, right? Because, I don't know. Because statistically speaking, with how big the world is, it should have a lot of members, right? It should.
Yeah.
And
it's 7 billion in the world, I believe.
Yeah, 7 billion people in the world. So, but I don't know. I feel like it's so secretive. It's hard to have so many people. You know what I mean? So.
Well, actually, it's something I wanted to talk about. We briefly, very briefly, talked about how Beyonce and Jay-Z were said to be rumored of it. So I did a little bit of research, and I wanted to expand on that a little bit and kind of get your opinion here. So here we go. So first of all, now, hold on. Actually, before we get into it, let me rewind. We talked about how the Illuminati was a confirmed thing back in 1776, I believe, or something like that, and how George Washington was accused of it, and he actually had written a note to the press, proclaiming his innocence. We talked about that, and we talked about how, using myself as the example, some people have negative stuff to say about me because we run a gaming organization. And, I don't really pay any mind to it. I just kind of let it go. But these people actually, addressed it. So, going back to the current situation, in Beyonce's song Formation, which is terrible, by the way. You can listen to it. In Beyonce's song Formation, her quote was, "Y'all haters corny with that Illuminati mess." So she addressed the Illuminati. Now, some could say that is an admission of guilt of some sort. Or it's acknowledging. It's acknowledging that she, could be a part of it, or she has been a part of it, or she knows of it. And so Jay-Z's part in the whole thing, I looked it up. So when he was blowing up, right when he first started, he got 4 to 7 platinum albums, and along with some of those albums was something called Rock Nation. On the cover of Rock Nation, he threw up a hand sign, which was the Illuminati sign, or which is the notorious Illuminati sign. It's when you put your two hands together, either your palms facing out or forward, and it makes a triangle. Typical. Now, what really brings it back to Beyonce is that during the Super Bowl halftime show that she did, she actually threw up the same hand sign, the Illuminati hand sign. She threw it up. Now, that's fishy in of itself because of just all the rumors and how she addressed it and the sign and notorious. I don't know, but going a little bit deeper into this, members suspected, and I looked it up. They said that the Illuminati essentially runs everything in the world, so it would make sense that they run the music side of things, the entertainment industry. People suspected of it were Whitney Houston, Justin Bieber, Bono, Eminem, Nicki Minaj, Lil Wayne, Dr. Dre, Aaliyah. All these people are accused of being in the Illuminati. Now, what I think is interesting about this, right, is a couple of those names, first of all, a couple of those names were actually on Jeffrey Epstein's list. I'm going to rope it back to this a little bit. I mean, Eminem was on that list. Whitney Houston was on that list. I believe Dr. Dre was on that list. Now, I don't think any Aaliyah was on that list. So right there, that's 4 people. That's 4 people that are said to be in the Illuminati. That there's proof of them being in the Illuminati. And then Jay-Z and Beyonce were also on that list too. So it would make sense that if they were on that list, it would make sense that Jeffrey Epstein was also a part of the Illuminati. And maybe since he got arrested, maybe one of the reasons why people had him killed was he knew about the Illuminati, and maybe he was going to expose that, and maybe he had real hard proof to expose it. I want to lead off with that. I mean, that's a lot to take in, but what do you think about that?
Yeah, maybe he... I don't know. I think he could have also been the fact that he might not be dead as well, and him being in the Illuminati basically got him out as basically like Monopoly get out of jail free card. You know what I mean? But
yeah,
like that. I mean, that's possible. And then as for Beyonce and shit, I mean, like, let me put it this way: you don't address something that has no meaning. Like, really, right? Am I wrong?
Yeah,
with that?
absolutely.
Like, you know what I mean?
You're not wrong at all. Yeah, if you have a guilty conscience, you will absolutely address something. But if you don't, and
if it has no meaning whatsoever, you're not gonna give a poop about it, you know?
Yeah,
but
you're right.
But yeah, I like. So I
what
feel
do you
like
think about them
that's
throwing up the hand signs, the Rock Nation hand sign, and during the Super Bowl? I mean, what do you specifically think about that?
I mean, to me, that's kind of evidence. Like, I don't know, like, I guess it could be some sort of a joke or something, but I don't know. It just seems, it seems like it wouldn't be some sort of like a joke. I know, like, I could go, oh, it doesn't mean I'm in the Illuminati, right? But there's so much more there that it could mean something for sure. It's kind of a It's kind of weird, but yeah.
And so I wanted to talk about something a little more unorthodox, and I wanted to get your opinion on it. Now, again, this is still keeping true with the Illuminati theme we got going on here. Now, a while ago, the last couple years um, have been real interesting for chemtrails. Now, if you don't know what chemtrails are, they're chemical trails in the air that, let's say a plane goes above you and there's smoke left by that plane. They say that that is a chemtrail. Now, they say that these chemtrails are made specifically by the Illuminati, and they're made to control our health and weather. Now, I looked it up. In 1996, a use of a hypothetical weather modification system where exposure using magnetic waves and hypotonic waves, um, were a thing, and it was something that was going to be used by the military for just that reason. So we know this thing exists. Let's agree to that together. We know that this sort of chemtrail idea exists, and it has been brought to the military. So the thing here to really take, I think, take into consideration is, what if we talk about COVID? I don't want to bring COVID into this because I know it's going to get us demonetized, but COVID especially, what if COVID was spread in the air by chemtrails, and what if that's how it started? Now, it's an interesting idea. It's an interesting idea to really kind of think about that, I guess. But going deeper into it, I guess, I think the idea of chemtrails, like controlling weather, I don't necessarily know if you can control weather, but controlling people's health, I do have an idea about, because I mean, the government has admitted to put LSD into water. They have. They've admitted to doing stuff with water. They've admitted to borderline poisoning people, but not in a way that can kill them. In a way that kind of just exercises their idea and kind of does it on a real life test. So, if you really look at chemtrails, I mean, they have done stuff that's similar, but they haven't. I don't know if they've directly done that. I mean, what's your thoughts on it?
Um, yeah, I don't know about the weather thing either. Like, that seems like a hard, like, I don't know. It just seems unlikely. I don't know, it just seems hard to do. I don't know what I'm trying to say, to be honest. But, yeah. And then, as for how to, like, for health and stuff, I mean, it's possible that, like, different diseases and bacteria could have, been released by the government via contrails. But, I don't know. I don't think there's a whole lot of, like, disease and stuff. I think it's mostly just kind of just due to the plane. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, there are scientific reasons for contrails. Like, realistically, there is. But I'm not saying that it's impossible by any means. Like, it's definitely possible. I just don't think it's likely. That's kind of my views on that. It's kind of an interesting thing to think about, though.
It is. It's very interesting here, and I want to kind of reference some stuff we talked about yesterday, which is the JFK thing. So I had looked into it. He actually outed them in a speech. That's why he was killed. I looked into it. So I watched the speech for about 5 or so minutes during the most important parts, and he was referencing Soviets, and he was using code words, but you could clearly tell he was talking about the Illuminati. If you really knew what to listen for, he was talking about how basically a secret organization with a lot of power, has too much power and too much money and can control anything. Like, he was clear cut talking about it. I mean, there was code words, so I don't believe somebody who was average listening to it would have caught on, but a lot of people did catch on, and a lot of people were paying close attention. So, in my opinion, I think I don't think the magic bullet theory exists. I just don't think it's possible. I think that, and I pulled up evidence, real hard evidence, that points to there were two shooters. That there were two shooters, not just one.
Yeah, I thought that as well. Just because, I don't know, like, I know bullets aren't normally made to move, just because it impacts most parts of your body. Or an animal's body if you're hunting for animals or whatnot. But, like, I don't know, it's just such a weird, like, I don't know how it would do all that without there being two shooters. With that being said, I don't know where the other shooter was. I think he was probably to a tree line. I've heard a theory about it being more in front of the vehicle.
Yeah, I heard the same thing.
But
How he was on the ground.
yeah, so I think that's more likely. As for who it is, no idea really. But
I mean, it might have been a group of people hired by the Illuminati.
it could have been more than two really. It could have been a lot of people.
You're right. It could have been, honestly.
But with that being said, I do think it was the one guy that got like
Oswald?
caught, or Oswald, that got the fatal shot. But I don't think he was the only one. So that's
I
that's what
I don't support the magic bullet theory. I don't think there's any science behind that. I mean, maybe, but I don't know. It's like that would be
it's
really a
called
magic
a magic
bullet.
bullet for a reason. Magic.
I
Like-
mean, okay. I mean, I don't know if I necessarily believe it. I definitely believe that there were multiple shooters, and there's real evidence that points to multiple shooters. You know, I wanna also pivot off a couple other things. So really, I want to talk about a bunch of topics, and then go back and kind of nitpick a little bit, if you will. So the next one is about Bin Laden. Now, Bin Laden obviously served in the military. First of all, if you didn't know, that was real. He really did serve. Now, as for his ranking, I don't know. I didn't look that much into it. I think he's a scumbag. However, there is tons and tons of theories and tons of proof that point to him actually being in the Illuminati. Now, if that were to be true, then by default, I think that the Illuminati orchestrated 9/11. I mean, that's the only thing that would make sense. And then when you look deeper into that, the way that the plane hit the buildings, the way that it collapsed. One of my buddies, he's also served, and you know, he's a demolitions expert. He told me one day, because he explained it with the block of Jenga. It's so stupid how he explained it, but it made sense. He said, like, the way he did it, basically, he explained how there's no possible way that if you hit it in the middle, it could collapse on itself. There's just no way. And he explained how you would have to explode it from the bottom for it to pancake down like that, which is what it did. It pancaked on top of each other. So, and then I looked up that theory. I looked it up. I was like, you know, was there pre-placed explosives at the bottom? Like, I looked into that, and there was tons and tons of people who reported just minutes and hours before the actual bombing of the building that there were tons of white vans that were parking underneath the trade center. That there were people hanging out that were super fishy that they had never seen before. So I think it is plausible that it was orchestrated by a military regime, and I think that he might have been at the helm of it. Really, I mean, and if you really want to get down to the nitty gritty, Osama bin Laden, when he was caught, he actually one of the things that they found on his computer hard drive was two other places that they were gonna bomb in the future. One of them was the Golden Bridge, and I forget where the other one was. But like, the thing is, I think there's some merit here, and I think that if you add up the fact that he was in the military, the fact that there's proof of him being in the Illuminati, then the Illuminati had to have been the people behind 9/11, and there's hard proof because there's no way that those planes. First of all, there's no way, like, knowing so many people who served and just knowing how it works. I know personally that there's no way that a jet period could come and fly over anywhere without us knowing about it. And in fact, you know, the the flight that was said to hit the Pentagon. This is interesting. My buddy told me this the other day because I was talking to him about the podcast, and he said that the plane that was said to of going to the Pentagon that landed in a cornfield, it said that it was shot down by um, by planes and shit like that. He said that that's one of the theories that he had when it was shot down by planes for being in fear of it. But later on, there's research found that actually that plane had nothing to do with it. They had shot down a friendly plane. So maybe it was a premature shoot down. Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. But I think that's fairly interesting to think about. And this 9/11 thing, it makes sense if it was all planned by the person, because at this point they could use that logic to invade the Middle East, which they did under the ruling of George Bush. The Twin Towers were hit, and we invaded the Middle East all at that same time. It's safe to say that George Bush himself was in the Illuminati, that there was a bigger power at stake here, and there was billions of dollars stuck in the oil business, and that's what they wanted. They started essentially a historic massacre for the sake of making billions. It would make sense. I mean, what like that? I mean, I know that's a lot to take in, but like, what do you think about that?
Alright, so the first point you kind of made, at least that I'm recalling, is the pre-placed explosives potentially in the trade center, right? Is that
Yeah,
correct? Alright, so for that, I mean, I feel like the evidence speaks for itself. Scientifically, it couldn't have just done that with a plane hitting it. Like, you know what I
yeah,
mean?
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
So, I feel like there's some merit to that. As well as, people reporting suspicious white vans going under the building. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's kind of.
Absolutely.
So, there's that. That's kind of. So, I would 100% believe that. And Osama. Oh my god, I can't speak. Osama bin Laden. Is that how you say it?
Osama bin Laden.
Osama bin Laden being in the Illuminati, I could 100% see it. Like, just think about it, right? Like, he's a powerful guy. He had really good war knowledge. Like,
And it took him so long to find him. But yet
yeah.
I mean, he was in a small village, huddled in what, a little tiny vent or something like that. Come on, are we really buying that?
So yeah, and then like you said about uh, what is it? My God, my mind is like blanking. But you said something. What was it? I was gonna make a point on it, but I'm literally forgetting it right now.
I talked about the JFK. Um, he outed the Illuminati. I talked about how Osama bin Laden was um, a part of the Illuminati, and 9/11 was a way for us to invade the Middle East. I talked about the chemtrails and how they use the waves.
Yeah. So I was gonna, now that you mentioned that, I was gonna talk about the Middle East invasion sort of
Yeah, please.
thing. So to me, that kind of points out that either uh, Bush himself was in the Illuminati, or it's not unthinkable too to think that the Illuminati has enough power to force a move like that, right? So
Yeah.
it's also possible that he's not actually in the Illuminati, but he has to do something because of the Illuminati, right? So
Okay.
yeah, that's kind of so yeah.
Interesting. Okay. I mean, you made some good points there. What do you feel specifically about the JFK thing? About finding out that he, outed them?
I don't know. That's kind of a. I feel like that is some like hard proof, if you will, because like I mean, think about JFK was a powerful man. He was a president of a country, and like I don't know if something forced his hand there or he was in the Illuminati. What happened behind the scenes? But like I don't know. That's. Do you think JFK was in the Illuminati?
No, I don't. But I think he outed them. I think he knew about them. There's tons and tons of stuff that during JFK's time that he could have done horrible shit. But if you read about him more, he was actually, in my opinion, a really good guy. He was somebody who, I mean, for lack of a better term, was pretty straight edge and a pretty decent fella. I mean, going back to what we said here, which is JFK was assassinated. I believe it was multiple people. I believe that these people were marksmen. All of them served. We talked about how Oswald was a military personnel. We talked about how all these people that do some kind of assassinations are ex-military. You could argue that some of them have PTSD. You could argue that it's because they have the formal training enough to take out um, somebody without having I don't know, that little doubt in their mind, that little flicker, I guess you could say. Now, coming from somebody who thinks that the Illuminati really exists, I think that is plausible that JFK was offered to join them, and if he was offered to join them, maybe maybe he was like no, maybe he turned it down. Maybe he had a reason for it. Maybe he had some kind of altered mode. Maybe he had some idea that I don't know. I don't know. There's so much to kind of unpack there. But one thing is definitely for certain. I think that members of the Illuminati or things that have come out, I think are partially true and partially not true. I definitely think that the truth comes out sooner or later. That's definitely a fact. I mean, there's nothing more true than that. And when we talk about like whistleblowers, there's been tons of people who came out and were legitimate whistleblowers of the Illuminati, and some of them I marked down right here. Some of them ended up in asylums. Some of them have ended up just disappearing altogether. Which, I mean, think about that for a second. For telling the truth and trying to, get the truth out there, you're essentially punished by means of death, or I mean worse. I mean, there's worse things that people can do to you. Now, what I want to really kind of hit on though is kind of a few things that we talked about a little bit before, and some of the stuff that we talked about, like Alex Jones. Let's talk about Alex Jones for a second. Now, Alex Jones was somebody who had really hardcore conspiracy theories, and he was deplatformed and banished publicly. So, not only is that the case, but I want to branch off of that, and I want to talk about the whistleblowers and stuff. I want to talk about, so we briefly mentioned it. I want to talk about people like Donald Marshall, Linda Tipp. I mean, Linda Tipp was the person who blew the whistle on Bill Clinton for his scandal during office. She ended up dead. We talked about how the Clintons, their body count and who they killed. And we talked about how, that Pete fella came forward and said, "Yeah, I heard them say it." One of the people who we just described as a whistleblower ended up in an asylum and arrested. And another whistleblower on the Illuminati had a whole thing. And I actually want to read some of that off to you right now, just to kind of see how you feel about it. So here we go. One man synonymous with such theory is Donald Marshall. He revealed in 2011 Marshall is a normal guy who happens to be a clone. He found himself in a cloning station run by none other than Queen Elizabeth. Obviously, in essence, he wants to educate the world about the celebrity cloning operation, which is run by the Illuminati, who essentially runs a real-life version of the film The Island, which, according to Marshall, was produced by none other than the Illuminati themselves on a whim. So that's interesting. Now, let's go up here. We talked about how Beyonce was said to be a member of the Illuminati. Now, in recent theory, months ago, suggests in the early 2000s, Queen Bey, Queen Bee, whatever. We all know and love today is a clone. Now, this follows a theory, of the cloning situation that this guy, Donald Marshall, put out there. Bad news for the fans who shelled out gazillions of pounds to see her in concert. Yet her legacy lives on in some of the most unsuspected places, in various dark corners of the internet. Theories of celebrity clonings are rife and arguably just as woolly as Dolly herself. Now, I have a couple of celebrities here that I want to talk about. But before I get into those specifically, I mean, what do you think about this cloning situation?
Well, I mean, to To me, that seems kind of scary. Because, like,
You think it's far-fetched, though?
I think a little bit. Like, I don't
Okay.
know. Because, like, sure, we could have a way to clone people. I wouldn't put it past the government and the Illuminati to figure out a way to do that and not tell anyone that we know how to do that. But it's just kind of like, I don't even know how to put it, really. It's just a little bit out there, in my opinion. Like, to the point where I think it's a little bit outlandish almost. But I mean,
Okay.
it's not. I don't think it's impossible. I just think it's a little out there, too far. You know what I mean?
Okay, so I have something I want to bring up here. It's a sci-fi movie that was produced a while ago. Now, we talk about cloning and what the capabilities of doing, and we all know that I love water conspiracy theories. So here we go. In the movie Frankenfish, there's genetically enhanced. There's two, I think, altogether, but there's a genetically enhanced fish that is. It would be 6 to 9 feet long. It would be close to 600 to 700 pounds. It's a monstrous fish that is genetically enhanced and put in the water by choice, by people who hunt for sport. Now, I asked one of my buddies. He's a marine biologist and he went to college for it. So, be that how it may. I asked him, what he thought about that, and he said that they're cloning new fish all the time. They make new fish all the time. They make subspecies of fish. They put genetics and cells together. It's really a fascinating process, but you can absolutely make new fish. You can. So with that being said, he said you could definitely genetically enhance a fish. Maybe not to the extreme of this, but I bring this up because this movie, first of all, it's a cheesy movie. It's great. But this was fishers wanting to hunt something for sport that could hunt them back. It's a thrill kill is what it is. It's a thrill of the hunt type of deal. And if this is possible, if this level of sport is possible, then it would definitely, I feel like, be in the same possibility to clone somebody. Now, I know that's a big stretch, but think about it. Who has enough money to clone fish and, genetically enhance fish for sport hunting? Only rich people. I mean, we're talking elites of the world. Rich people who have money. So, I mean, really. I'm talking about those type of people. Money. Not even with a Y. With an AE at the end of it.
Money. Yes, sir.
But I think it's very possible that if they could do that for sport, I think that it's possible that cloning could exist. I mean, I know that's far-fetched, but what do you think about that?
Okay. Um, like you said, I think it's possible, but once again, I don't know. It's such a weird topic. To me, it's kind of scary to think about, right? Because you could be talking to someone, they could be a fucking clone. Like, think about that for a second, right?
Oh, I know, man.
Like, to me, that's a
I
little bit
know.
like spooky, if I'm being completely real. But I don't know. I think it is far-fetched, but not impossible. Like I said before, I mean, they have a lot of money, like a lot of money, and
Money.
and so yeah, I don't think it's impossible by any means, but it's far-fetched, I think. So yeah, that's kind of what I think about it.
So, I want to direct you to some of these pictures. I'm going to put these pictures in the thumbnail first of all, so everybody can also see them. But let's go to this first one here. I'm going to read the caption under it, and then we're going to just talk about the picture. So, first of all, it says one of the clone theories, and sorry to bring this up again, is hold on, I saw my thing dropped. There we go. Is Beyonce. Now, Beyonce in 2010 looked a lot different from Beyonce in 2016. Now, this is something that, if you look at the picture here, first of all, I'm going to click on it so I can get a zoom up. If you look on it, the 2010 it looks like her. But if you go to 2016, nothing looks like her. The jawline's different, the lips are different, the eyes are different. Even the makeup and the eyebrows are different.
To me,
I mean, the
yeah,
nose
like,
is a little fatter.
To me, the jawline is a big, I don't know, like, telltale sign.
Red flag?
Yeah, because, like, you can see her jaw has, her real jaw doesn't, it's just kind of, comes to a point where in the 2016 photo, I find there's almost a flat spot, right near the bottom of her chin, where I don't see that in the 2010 photo. The eyebrows, they're on the 2016, they're much more round than the 2010 photo, where they're more, I mean, they're round but farther back, and they come down and they're not as far down into her actual eye. And I mean, makeup, like you said, but I feel like that could also change with time, so I don't feel like that's a big red flag, if you will. But yeah.
So, also something else that I just saw was the hairline. So the 2016 hairline is actually right above her forehead. The one 2010 is to the right of her eye. If you see that. So
Yeah.
that I think is another telltale sign of something. I mean,
Even like her eyes look a little bit different. If you
yeah,
look close
like
enough.
it's very strange.
I don't know. I mean, that's a lot of plastic surgery, I'm not gonna lie. If that
It
was.
might be. It might just be the surgery. It might just be the surgery. I mean, I don't know.
Why sound like me exit off this photo? Sorry.
You're good. You're good. The next one I want to talk about is Paul. So Paul McCartney. There's a picture or there's a photo here. Before we get to that, I'm gonna read off what it says because again, I got my source from somewhere else. So it says so one of the clone theories is Paul McCartney, and in the photo it said some think a convenient look-alike was found. A follow-up from Donald Marshall. I believe that the clone purpose was built, though largely agree his replacement went by the name Billy Shears, or occasional theorists who thinks Paul in fact became broke. So that's something. And now here's another little tidbit of it. It says more compelling evidence lies in reference to the Billy Shears and the Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band album, or hidden phrase "Paul is dead, miss him, which only becomes evident when John Lennon's song "A Day in the Life" is played backwards. Though imagine chanting "Paul is dead" very loudly while Wallace playing literally anything backwards would probably do the trick. So this is interesting. If you click on the photo here, I'm gonna go ahead and do that. If you click on the photo, it looks like two different people. I'm gonna be honest. Doesn't the hairdo's different? The eyes look different. The facial styles look different. Um, Honestly, the only things that really kind of look the same are the nose and the jawline. But even then, it's like honestly just looks like two different people. Maybe he grew up. I get it. You know, we all don't look the same when we get older. But I don't see the same person here at all. In fact, what are you thinking?
Yeah, like the 63 eyebrows I find are like pretty different, like extremely different looking eyebrows. And like I said, the hair, but once again, I feel like hair is something that can be changed. And with these photos, you can't really see a hairline per se, which
Yeah.
is more uh, telling. I don't know. In the 63 photo, his eyes almost look droopier, if you will. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And then, yeah, I think his lips almost look different. Yeah, I could. I guess it could be the same person, but it's pretty drastic changes, especially for like plastic surgery at that time. You know what I mean? That's a. Sure, you
Yeah.
could have grown up, but those are some big changes. Like, just the overall set of it.
So there's one more person here, Avril Lavigne. I don't know if you know who this is. Vaguely remember, vaguely remember her from my youth. Um, I remember when the whole emo slash goth thing was popular. I remember when that was like a big thing. So here we go. I'm gonna read it off. This theory goes that Avril, everyone's fave 90s pop skater girl, actually died in 2003, and the imposter has taken over her place for the last 12 years. If um, if nothing else, that could explain why this was allowed to happen. The rumors were all started by a Brazilian Avril Lavigne fan page. When the party line concluded that to help cope with the pressure of the fame, Avril often enlisted the help of a body double called Melissa. Eventually, it all got too much, and Avril was found dead. Cue Melissa becoming Avril Lavigne as a full-time job. Now, and then it goes to the pictures. Now we got two different pictures here. This is interesting because we got two different ones. I'm gonna look at the first one first. Okay. Now, I'll be honest. A couple telltale things, stand out. Now, one, the eyebrows. Sounds weird, but one's darker than the other. Maybe that's just because she dyed them. Don't know, but
It
that's
also
one
could be
thing.
lighting, but I see what you mean.
Another thing is when she's smiling in the right one, you can see her dimples on the side of her mouth. In the first one, you can't actually see those. It's not as defined. That's a weird detail, but it's kind of true. Now, if you look, obviously the hair is different, clearly. But again, if you look at the hairline on the right, it starts above her left eye and goes to the right slightly and then straight back. It on this one, it starts again on her right eye, but it goes directly to the right.
Yeah.
So it's a different hairline here. That's interesting to note. Now, honestly, I could make an argument about the eyes, but I'm not going to. What do you think specifically about this one, though?
I think I don't know. I think the skin complexion shows something here. Like in
Oh yeah, yeah.
like in the first few photos, she's much more pale than the other two on the right side, and even the way that I know it's gonna sound weird, but like wears her hair, like how one of them it's over her shoulder and the other one's behind her. Um, like I said, the dimples. The eyes, I don't see a whole lot on the eyes. You could say
I didn't
something,
either. Yeah.
but to me they look pretty similar, eye-wise.
Yeah. Yeah.
And nose, you can make a small argument for like the bottom of her nose. And like you said, the hairline also.
Yeah, the hairline's huge for me. The hairline's really huge for me, and I don't know. I feel like that, like you can't change that. So I don't know. I'm gonna go to the second one. I'm gonna pull up it. So this is interesting. This one, there's a lot of telltale signs. Right off the bat, we talked about hairline. The hairline's just different. Just different. Second, in my opinion, again, you can see the dimples on the right. Can't see it on the left. And in this case, if you look at the necklace, it's actually two different necklaces. So, to me, that's something, first of all. And the actual style of the hair, that's a little different as well. One's straight, one's wavy.
Yeah, I see that.
If you look at the eyes, so typically women don't like to change their style of makeup. Like, obviously, obviously they don't wear the same thing every day, but typically, they do their makeup a certain way. The makeup in the right and the left are totally different on the eyes. Totally different. In fact, one looks botched and one looks more natural and kind of precise. And as far as, honestly, as far as the skin complexion goes, I think that the one on the left looks natural and the one on the right looks more oily, looks more just, I don't know, kind of forced, I guess. I mean, what are you thinking here?
Yeah, I feel like there's some strong, like, arguments I can make with her especially. Like, there's a lot of things that, yeah, I don't know. Do you know in the top photo, when that was taken, in the top left and right?
I do not know. She looks young, probably in her 20s, early 20s, maybe 21, 22, 23. Like, very, very early.
Yeah.
So another one I want to bring up here. I don't have a picture for it, unfortunately. However, another one I want to bring up is Miley Cyrus. Now, I actually thought about this before she was on this list, which I think there's a lot of merit to this. Anybody who's watched Miley from, what was that? Hannah Montana, right? And then going from Hannah Montana, which is, the kind of cartoon, or not the cartoon, but like the comedy, teen girl, to the girl she is now, I think big difference. So I want to read this here. So it says, in 2010, Miley Cyrus went through a dramatic transformation from squeaky clean Hannah Montana. Oh yeah, it was right here. So there you go. Squeaky clean Hannah Montana to twerking wrecking ball we know today. In the process, she had the audacity to leak nudes, smoke saliva? I don't know. Sativa, that's it. And write in a song that she was hot, and generally break out of confines of being, the prepubescent Hannah, I guess. Now, as the theory goes, Disney was not pleased with this, and there are several variations on exactly what happened, but most commonly believe that they were so furious that the logical conclusion was to murder her, dump the body in the desert, and bring in a cloned replacement. Donald Marshall was apparently being seriously threatened by her evil clone to shut them up, and he said, "You didn't hear that from me." So, I mean, what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's kind of weird, really. Like, if I'm being
Kinda.
honest, not kinda. That is fucking bizarre. Like, I'm just trying to wrap my head around it, really. If I'm being completely honest. um. Yeah, I don't even know what to say, really. Like, I'm just kind of in awe. I'm like, all right.
And what's really interesting is we talk about Disney a lot in these things, and that's another one for Disney. That's another one, man. Did you think about that?
Yeah. You know what? I want to go back and see all the times that we've mentioned Disney. It's probably 10 plus times.
Yo, one of these days they're gonna get a hold of us and sue the shit out of us.
One of these days we're gonna get sued. It's gonna be great. So that's why I sub to our YouTube, so we can not get sued.
We can fight the legal battle.
Yeah. Because Disney's gonna take our asses down. We're gonna get shadow banned from Disney.
Shadow banned. Oh no. Oh no. So
we gotta start a website before that happens.
So alrighty, I wanna kind of move along here. I don't know. I wanted to talk about the clone thing because it was you know what? It's strange, but again, I think that it's plausible and it has Disney in it, and I think Disney has their hand in a lot of nefarious shit. If I'm being completely honest with you.
Yeah, like the fact that we probably, what is this, our 7th podcast, 8th podcast? 10th, holy shit, I didn't realize it's been that many. Whoa, we're getting friggin' lit. But anyway, they probably came up in probably 10 times, if I'm being honest. They got some fishy stuff.
It has been a lot
over there. I don't know.
They do too, man.
But yeah, that's kind of a. I can't wait until Disney sues me. It's gonna be great.
So, kind of branching off of that, so I kind of want to bring it back to Trump and Epstein thing, because I feel like we kind of briefly talked about it. So I actually pulled up a quote that I really wanted to talk about. So 20 years ago, I actually seen the video. Before you say oh man, no, I actually seen their video. I'll link it to you a little bit later if you're interested. But the quote was that first of all, him and Epstein were sitting right next to each other. They were literally pointing and laughing, not in a nefarious way, but kind of just talking. And Trump had made a quote that said Epstein likes him young. So I think that is proof enough for me. I mean, to know that Trump knows something about it, or he knows of it. And that's kind of where that you know where that one stands, but whatever. Um, what I find particularly interesting is I searched. First of all, I searched who runs the Illuminati. That's what I searched, and I got these. So I'm gonna read it off. First of all, right at the top of the list, the Walton family. Walmart estimated wealth 190 billion. Next one is Mars family. Didn't provide me anything. Um, Kosher brothers, Al Assad, um, Warntheimer family, Dumbest family, Von, 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 yeah, I don't know. It's a whole thing. It's a family. I'm not gonna say the whole thing. And then there was Bowenringer, Von Bonovich families. Now, that's interesting because we had talked about the Walton family possibly being in the Illuminati. So I think that it's possible that they really are members of it and they
I
know of
mean,
it.
there's some powerful people. They got a lot of money, as you mentioned earlier in this.
Oh, dude.
Like a lot, a lot.
So one of the people I want to get on the podcast down the road is actually a member of the Walton family. Nobody special, just a member. That would be interesting. How do you think they would take to us calling them a part of the Illuminati?
Bruh, I'll cut straight to the point. They can get on here. All right, we're live, and are you in the Illuminati,
You would not, bro. Would you really?
bruh? First, do you know me?
That's the problem. Dude, I know you would.
I'd call them out on their
Alright.
bullshit. Oh, that's right, I said it. If you listen,
Other bullshit.
I'll let you know about it. Anyway,
Alright, so the last thing I want to talk about, and then we can kind of go into a freestyle and kind of talk about everything we want. The last thing I want to talk about is secret societies. So throughout history, there's been tons of outed secret societies, not just the Illuminati, but tons of outed. Now, before I name them, I had watched a Joe Rogan podcast a while ago. Which, if you're not subscribed to that, go subscribe to that guy. It's amazing. But I had watched it, and they had talked about some of the societies, and the person who he had on at the time. Sorry, and the person who he had on at the time had, said like, "Are we supposed to be talking about this?" And he was actually like legit like scared. So be it as it may, take all this with a grain of salt, but that guy was legitimately scared, and he didn't even want to talk about it with Joe Rogan. So, and Joe Rogan might be old, but he can fuck someone's world up. I'm telling you right now. But anyway, so the first, here's just a few of them. First of all, I'm gonna name off the names: Knights Templar, Freemasons, Skull and Bones, Illuminati, and Binderberg. So we already know what the Illuminati is. I'm not going to talk about it. With that being said, let's talk about the Knights Templar. They're the first one. They were known for more than their military prowess and moral lifestyle. They became one of the most wealthy and powerful forces in Europe after setting up a bank that allowed pilgrims to deposit money in their home countries and withdraw it in the Holy Land. So it's interesting to kind of put that in perspective, but that was kind of like the first of the idea of the Illuminati. And then going up, so this one's more kind of plausible, and all these kind of interlock with each other. It said, I'm going to talk about Binderberg. So, the first Binderberg meeting was held in 1954 at Hotel de Binderberg in the Netherlands, from which the organization gets its name. Convened by Prince Bernard of the Netherlands, and it was gathering of powerful politicians from North America and Europe, designed to foster warmer relations between um, you know, two essentially continents, among fears of growing, Americanism in Europe. Um, well, not while not secret, not like a secret society, I guess you could put it, like the Illuminati or the Freemasons were. Binderberg's high-profile attendees and previous guests have included. Here's listen to some of these because this is important. Bill Clinton, Margaret Thatcher, Angelina Merkel, Tony Blair, Henry Kissinger, and the use of the Chatham House block and roll attendees from sharing what happened in these meetings gives the group the air of mystery. Journalists are barred from reporting on it. Meeting minutes are not meetings aren't like minutes, they're like hours at a time, so it's not like some kind of like one and done deal. um it's interesting thinking about this. It's interesting because this wasn't something that was secret, but it kind of was secret. It was in open, and also Bill Clinton was a part of it. Now, that's important because this could be considered an Illuminati, and Bill Clinton has been in Illuminatis, so this could tie into that. Now, we talk about the skull and bones. First of all, this one's the one that was mentioned on the Rogan podcast that the dude was kind of scared about. So this should interest you here. The Order of the Skull and Bones is a secret society founded at Yale University. First of all, Yale, it's huge. It's one of the biggest universities here in America. Um, in New Haven, Connecticut, in 1832, Skull and Bones founder William Russell was inspired by an occult society he had visited in Germany. His co-founder was Alfonso Taft, future Secretary of War under President Grant. That's important as well. And father of President William Howard Taft, which was one of our presidents. 100%. That would mean that the Skull and Bones secret society had direct contact or had direct influence by one of the presidents and had one of the direct influences on the president. That's important to know. That's very important to know. First of all, who would also be a member of the Skull and Bones? Prominent list of bonesmen includes several presidents and modern day power brokers. So, interestingly enough, first of all, I'm going to read off a couple of these names. And again, I don't know if they're true. I don't know if they're not true. But some of these names might shock you. So here we go. Famous Skull members include William Howard Taft, George H.W. Bush and his son. That's two presidents. The founder of Time magazine, Henry Luce. Former Secretary of State and President hopeful John Kerry. And Fortune 500 elites and members of the CIA. Now, they call themselves the New World Order, which is spooky enough. But this is all kind of I don't know how to put it. This is all kind of like, I guess you could say conspiracy, but at the same time, if it's true, I mean, think about it. Bill Clinton is outed for being essentially a member of an Illuminati. William Howard Taft, George H.W. Bush, and his son, right there, just stopping right there, that's 4 presidents. That's 4 presidents of the United States. Let's say they only served 1 term each. I mean, right there, that's 4 4-year terms. I mean, that's a big fucking number. That's over 10 years of essentially the Illuminati running the world. Think about that for a second. Just like let that sink in. I mean, what? How do you feel about that?
Uh, um, you're gonna have to give me a minute here because I need to, like, I'm just trying to, like, those. You started off with some names and stuff, and I mean, those are some names, and I mean, some names that have a lot of money, and, you know, and then you mentioned also the New World Order, whatever it was. Like,
Yeah.
like, that's kind of scary, if you will. Like, that's kind of spooks. And then, like, well, like, I don't even know what to say. Like, that 10, or what was it, 10 to 15 years? Is that what you said? Or 10?
So, let's say all of them served. Let's say all of them served. So that's 4 people that we know. Let's say all of them, if nothing else, served a 4-year sentence, and that's like all they served. We would take 4 times it by 4. That'd be 16. That'd be 16 years that we have been in America under direct actions of the Illuminati. 16 years. Now let's say they served full terms. Let's say they served full
32.
terms. So every 32. There you go. And that's I mean, think about that. 32 years potentially that we've been under direct Illuminati. That I don't know. I don't even know how to feel about that. Like,
yeah,
that right there
like,
is
obviously,
scary.
Now, I feel like it's a little bit different for me because I'm Canadian, right? Like, there is some little bit of difference there. But I don't even know. Like, I don't have a whole lot to say. That's crazy. With 3 Z's, crazy.
So, I agree with you. It is crazy. I have I believe one more society, right, to talk about, or did we cover everything?
Are we?
No, we covered everything. Yeah, we covered everything.
Alright, that's fantastic.
Hold on real quick. I know I just want to talk about one last thing. It's not on the agenda. It's something completely different. It goes back to your point that you said earlier about Hillary Clinton. I have a list of Hillary Clinton's lies that she had actually said, and I have all listed here, which is pretty interesting. So, just to name a few of it, just a few, not all of them, just a few. There have been more than 270 mass shootings in the United States in last year alone. That's where 4 or more are killed. That's a straight up lie, first of all. Next one is the crowd in Las Vegas fled at the sound of gunshots. Imagine the deaths if the shooter had a silencer. That's different. Says FBI Director James Comey letter about new developments in the investigation through emails only went to Republican members of the House. That's straight up lie as well. We are now, for the first time ever, energy dependent. It's not true at all. He says that Donald Trump doesn't make things in America. It's not true at all. Tons of stuff in America. Um, says unlike Tom Kaine, who invested in education, Indiana um, Governor Mike Pence, slashed education funding. Wasn't true at all. And there's tons and tons and tons of stuff that's really kind of spooky. Like this one here, I found particularly spooky. It says that she says she had never received nor sent any material that was marked classified on her private email server while Secretary of State, saying that her email practices, it was allowed. I mean, wow, first of all. And then it says some racist shit in here too, which is pretty spooky. It says you are 3 times more likely to be able to get a mortgage if you're a white applicant, if you're black or Hispanic, or even if you have the same credentials. And then there's a couple other ones here that really are kind of like, whoa. First of all, like something directly about ISIS. It says, I'm the only candidate on either side who has laid out laid out a specific plan about what I would do to defeat ISIS. Interesting. And then there's more, there's more ISIS talk in here. And there's just, overall, there's tons and tons and tons of either racist things, either like Islamic things, but overall, there's probably there's 20 pages, and each page has, I think, 20 on it. So it's on PolitiFact if you want to go check that out. But that's interesting. And there's just lies on top of lies on top of lies. The reason I point that out is she's just a notorious bad person. Like, I don't know. There's so much evidence that points to her just being a shitty human being. Yeah. But now that we talked about all the topics, did you want to talk about anything specific? Like, I know you talked about FEMA camps. Did you want to bring that up?
Sure.
Yeah, please.
Let me just pull up my notes here.
And in the meantime, while he's pulling up these notes, we are past the 74-minute mark, by the way, and we'll keep going.
So give us 11, alright? Alright, so I'm just gonna start off by saying this. This is kind of a little bit of background. So the FEMA camps planned theory holds that the United States Federal Emergency Management Agency, that's what FEMA stands for in case you're wondering, is planning to imprison U.S. citizens in concentration camps. This is typically described as following the I can't even speak right now. Imposition of material law in the United States after a major disaster of crisis. In some versions of the theory, only suspected distances will be imprisoned. In more extreme versions, large number of U.S. citizens will be imprisoned for the purpose of exterminating a new world order established. Did you catch that back, or the very last thing I read right there?
Yeah.
A new world order. Second time we mentioned that.
We sure did.
So yeah, I mean, how do you feel about these FEMA camps, potentially?
So, when I researched FEMA camps a while ago, it was on a whole different conversation, but FEMA camps were a conspiracy theory that was going to be enacted on 2012. And I remember searching it up back then for so many reasons, but the biggest one was that population control. Once the population got so big, we would have to use the FEMA camps, and FEMA camps were being built to control population. We were going to essentially, throw people in those camps, and they would just thin out the population by killing a whole bunch of them. And in fact, the reason why it was brought up anyway is because I specifically live in Ohio, and that is where one of them are. So, and it's newly built too. Newly built, like within the last 10 years. So, brand new facility. And why they have it, no clue. No clue, but it's definitely interesting.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, like.
So what you think? You think that they're going to use population control?
If it comes
Or
to a
what
certain
you think?
point, absolutely.
You really think so?
I mean, there could be other reasons, but like, I don't know. Right? Like what? Okay, so let's keep in mind what FEMA is, right? It is the Federal Emergency Management Agency. That is what it is. What emergency do you think they're gonna need a concentration camp for?
I mean, population control.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. But like, you know what I mean? It's scary to think about.
I do.
Like, yeah.
I mean, it is scary to think about. It's pretty terrifying, actually. Do you actually want to go over anything that we talked about today, or are you pretty happy with how it turned out?
I think I'm pretty good. I'm like, that's a lot to take in, you know. It is.
Alright. It definitely is. It definitely is a lot to take in. I agree with you there. So then we're gonna go ahead and drop the podcast. Now, here's the deal. We had talked about this. If the first one of these does really well, like we're talking 5,000+ views, we will definitely release either part 2 or we can do an entire series on it. That would be interesting in of itself.
And then we get
sued,
and then
we do definitely get sued. So there's that.
So yeah, if you guys want that, let us know, because
yeah,
we
for
can
real.
do it.
Let us know by the likes. Let us know by the likes and the views.
And the
You know,
views.
view it a bunch of times. Share it with your friends. Share it with your grandma. Share it with your brother. Who knows?
Share it with your cat.
Yeah, share it with your cat. Other than that,
So yeah,
I hope
have a fantastic
everyone
day,
has a good one. And